Good evening, everyone. This is Charles with Exodus Logistics, Dispatcher 101 training for beginners. I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's recording. Hey, what's up, Jeff? I see people starting to come in. That's cool. Don Capital, area code 816. I see Mark, Jeffrey, myself, Sarah, Ortega, Jamie. What's going on, Jamie? Let me see. Okay, you guys can unmute yourself when you need to say anything, but I just muted everybody, so I'm starting to record. Dispatcher 101 training for beginners. The purpose of this platform is kind of an offshoot of the National Dispatchers Network's platform. I try to give you guys a little bit more thorough and basic beginners level information so that you can start to grab things from a basics perspective. So when you do, if you are a part of the National Dispatchers Network, when you do go to that training, which is on Saturdays, you'll be able to pick up on some of the lingo, some of the jargon, terminology, concepts, things like that. So today, I'm still going to go over a little bit of the explanation of what it is to be a dispatcher, a little bit of how to find carriers, being a dispatcher, what is all involved in that, the workflow, the process, the steps that's involved in that, and also to go over a scenario where we book a load, pretending to be like a broker, calling a broker and things like that. Checking something real quick. Okay. I just got a dispatcher agreement, and I can show you guys that as well. So what is a dispatcher? Let's start from the very beginning. What is a dispatcher? There's plenty types of dispatching out there, like a 911 dispatcher, but for us in the freight industry, a dispatcher is someone who is an agent or works for the carrier, the truck driver, the owner-operator. If you are new to this industry, the transportation industry, you're just coming in wanting to learn what it is to be an independent freight dispatcher, work from home, be your own boss. My goal is to try to provide a basic level of concepts and terms and understandings as possible, so you won't feel like you're lost or anything like that. Because when I first came in, I didn't know anything, so I took it up on myself to start to learn things, and then I said, well, let me take my knowledge that I've gained, and I don't profess to know it all, but let me take my knowledge, what I did gain, and pour it up on everyone else and share it. So the first thing is, well, who are we? What is it that we do? That's the very first thing. This is Dispatcher 101 training for beginners. So we are dispatchers in the transportation freight industry. It is a recession-proof industry. The reason being is because if you can easily go outside and look at, trucks are rolling up and down the highways, streets. Goods and services are being transported to and from different places of business, and it never stops. And irrespective of how the economy is doing, things are still getting bought and sold. And those things that are being bought and sold had to have gotten there by some way, shape, and form or fashion, whether it was through a truck, whether it was on a ship, whether it was on an airplane. So the transportation industry doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So as a dispatcher, we are in the space of that industry where it involves trucks, whether it's dry van trucks, flatbeds, and refrigerated trucks. So as a dispatcher, our job is to assist the carriers with whom we sign up an agreement with to find freight for them, to keep them running, to keep them moving, so they can make money, and coincidentally, you make money. So that's the whole goal. So now, what does that entail? What are the steps in that process? How do you perform your duties as a independent freight dispatcher? You're working from home, so you have a lot of freedom and time, and you don't have a boss. You're your own boss, so that's good. You don't have to worry about going to and from work, dealing with traffic and things like that. But the first step in being an independent freight dispatcher is to find a carrier or carriers and to get them to sign up to a dispatcher agreement. So now we come to the first, I guess you could say, hurdle or first challenge in that process. So the first challenge of being an independent freight dispatcher is to get an agreement between you and the carrier. So how is that done? Number one, how is that done? Or what is that? So an agreement is like a contract that states that, I'm the dispatcher, you and I make an agreement, I provide you with loads, you tell me how you want to run, how much you want to make, where you want to go, I provide the service, and then once you are paid, I get paid. So I can take you to, let me show you, I just got an email from I normally don't do this, but I got one from a hotshot carrier. A hotshot, for those who don't know, is a flatbed carrier. Well, it's actually a 40-foot flatbed trailer, and it's attached to, like most cases, it's attached to a 3500 dually pickup truck. They call them hot shots because they can only take up to maybe the most I've seen is 30,000 pounds. So, but as an independent dispatcher, the first thing we have to do is understand the concept of getting a carrier under an agreement. So, what are the ways of doing that? Some ways are, since you are your own boss, some people can go to like truck stops and put up flyers because this is your company. You have to remember, as an independent dispatcher, this is your company. So how you market yourself is an important concept to take into play. So there are options. Going to a truck stop, putting up flyers, word of mouth, a website. One of the most common ways that's used, particularly on the National Dispatchers Network's platform, and for all bits and purposes, my platform as well, is the truck search feature of Truckers Path. That's one way to go out and search for carriers to potentially pitch a script to get them to sign up to a dispatcher agreement. So this is one of the common ways to do it, and this is the way to get past stage one of being a independent freight dispatcher. Remember, you have to have an agreement with you and the carrier first in order to, before you can even look on a load board to book a load, before you can even call a broker to try to book that load that you found on the load board that the carrier shows interest in, before you get the carrier package, sign them on to the company, to the brokerage, get the rate confirmation, before the carrier can start their truck and go pick the load up and deliver it and you get paid. Before all that happens, there has to be a dispatch agreement between you and the carrier. I'd like to welcome all the guests who just joined in, everyone who just joined in. We've started recording already. We're just going over the general concept of what it is to be a independent freight dispatcher. What is a dispatcher? Someone who is contracted between themselves and the carrier to find loads for that carrier, and ultimately gets paid for that. So now that's high level, but the question becomes, what are the integral steps in that process? Well, the first thing you have to do is understand the dispatch agreement between you and the carrier. And then prior to that, pitching yourself, selling yourself to the carrier in such a way that you convince the carrier to say, hey, I'm interested in your service. You're saying that you can give me what I want, going to where I want to go for the amount of money that I want to make. So, and that's the icebreaker there. Most people find it challenging to get on the phone and cold call. Now, cold calling is not the only option. It's a common option of getting carriers to sign up to an agreement, but there are other options. If you have the ability to go to a truck stop, put up flyers, business cards, if you have the ability to market yourself, brand yourself on through social media or website, things like that. But one of the most effective ways, but one of the hardest ways, once you pass that stage of cold calling and convincing someone that you've never met before, and that's what cold calling is. You're talking to someone you've never met. Once you convince them that your service that you're providing for them is going to get them what they need, then now you send them your agreement and you go from there. So the way that the way that the National Dispatchers Network, one of the ways that we use is the truck search feature on Truckers Path. So before I show you guys that, I usually like to stop integrally in between processes and ask if there are any questions at this point. Anyone can ask a question, unmute yourself, introduce who you are, and then ask your question and before we proceed. Okay? So no one has a question. That's good. All right. So the steps again in being an independent freight dispatcher is first you understand what it is that you're doing. What is your job description? What are your duties? You are the person who contracts with the carrier to find them loads, to book loads for them, and go from there. But prior to doing that, you have to understand first how to pitch and get to that carrier in order to convince them to sign up for a dispatcher agreement. And one of the common ways, one of the more effective ways, even though it's the hardest way, this is probably the most hardest process in this concept of being a dispatcher there is. Once you get past the cold calling and getting someone under agreement, the hard part is over. Everything else is now you find the load, go over information with the broker, get them signed up, things like that. So check this real quick. Someone's trying to get on the platform. Wash. Excuse me 1 second. Fellas, ladies. Okay, so I was saying that in order to get a carrier under agreement, we usually go to, in the National Dispatchers Network as well as this platform, the truck search feature on Truckers Path. And I went over this a little bit last week, but I'll rehash it again in case some people who are guests want to see the whole process from its inception to fruition. So this is my login in the back office. Oh yeah, before I go further, if you decide to join this platform, the pricing point for this platform, if you are a member of the National Dispatchers Network and you want some more basic training to join this platform, Dispatcher 101 training for beginners is a one-time payment of $99. And if you are not a member of the platform, National Dispatchers Network, but you want to still join this beginner's level platform to get kind of a beginner's level understanding, it is $199. And what you get is you will get membership access to the back office area where we'll go over carrier searches, load boards, forms and documents. The workflow of dispatching and Dispatcher 101, they kind of go hand in hand. Workflow of dispatching is kind of a high level. Dispatcher 101, it goes into more detail And then, of course, all videos, all the training videos that we have every Tuesday evening from 6 to 8 are recorded and uploaded in the back office so you guys can overview it over and over and over again. Also, too, once you join this platform, you get the 3 ebooks for free. So those are free. That's $95 value. So you get those for free. And you get consulting for free also once you join this platform. Consulting meaning that if there is something that you didn't grasp while we were having the live online operational training, and you can contact me via phone or through the website here, contact us, enter your information, or call or text my cell phone, because I'm pretty much readily available at this point, and then I can answer the question there. Or eventually we can join the Facebook group, and which is Dispatcher 101, and you can ask your question in the group. That's kind of a sub-network as well. So for some reason the computer's a little slow, but that's fine. And this is the Facebook group, Dispatcher 101 Beginners Independent Freight Dispatcher Forum. So you just ask to join that. You go to Facebook, type that in, ask to become a member, and then I'll go ahead and approve that, and then you can, it's like a little sub-network. You can ask questions there, okay? But so the first thing as a dispatcher you want to do is find carriers. And one of the ways we find carriers is through the truck search feature of Truckers Path. Let me log out and log back in so I can show you guys. What is going on with my system? Why is it acting? I have a slow system tonight, apparently. While I'm waiting for that, in the truck search feature of Truckers Path, the type of carriers or the equipment types that the carriers drive that we usually search for will be the dry vans, the 53-foot dry vans, and you'll understand what those terms are going forward too. If you join the this platform, you'll get 3 ebooks. One of those ebooks is called How Much Money You Need to Move Your Truck, and it goes over the basic terms of what those equipment types are. It shows pictures and explains what they are and the dimensions and things like that. So you'll understand what a 53-foot dry van is. You'll understand what a 50-foot refrigerated van is, or a reefer, and then you'll understand what a 48 or 53-foot flatbed is and its purpose. So when you start to call brokers or look up loads, you'll have a better concept of what they are, and then you'll start to pick up on the lingo. That's the whole point as well of being a dispatcher too. As you progress over time and dealing with loads over and over and over again for your carrier or carriers, then you'll be able to pick up on common terms, common themes, common lingo and jargon that's spoken. So, but the first thing of being a dispatcher, of course, is, again, finding the carrier. So the truck search feature on Truckers Path, I'm going to log out. This is Truckers Path. Let me log out completely and minimize some of my bandwidth because it's acting real weird. So let me log out some things. There we go. I'm going to leave. I'm going to log out of even Facebook. I don't need to have it up right now while I'm training. So, just the website. So now I'll go to I use Truckers Path. There are other sources. If you're part of the National Dispatchers Network, there are other sources that are used. One's called Quick Solutions in the back office area of the National Dispatchers Network. There is also one called ComFreight in the back office of the National Dispatchers Network. This resource here, Trucker Path, is one of the common used features that we use to find carriers. Of course, there's Google, there's other search features. I like this one because I use this one to find my carriers. It's been effective for me, so that's why I'm using it as a training tool. So I'll go ahead and in the back office, it is going to be in the resources, tools and resources area in the back office. And let me show you a sample of that before I do that as well. On the website, when you become a member of Dispatcher One-on-One Training for Beginners, you will go to the training page of the website and you will sign up or log in. Once you become a member, you'll sign up. You'll pay your enrollment price, either $99 or $199, and then you'll be able to sign up. It'll send an alert to us, and then we'll approve you, and then you'll be able to log in. But first, you have to sign up. If you're not a member, you'll have to sign up to request site membership. So that's here. But I'm going to go ahead and log, and let me show you first, because there's no point in. So if you go to the sign up part, you can click either log in to take you to the login section right here. If you already are a member, you log in. But if you're new to the site, that means if you first joined this Dispatcher One-on-One Training for Beginners for the very first time, then you'll click sign up. New to this site, sign up. You'll enter your email, password, click sign up, and it shoots a message to the webmaster of the website, which is me. I'll verify that you paid the enrollment and then approve you to be on the platform. Once that's done, then you log in. So let me log in with my credentials and then give you a tour of the back office here. All right. Someone's trying to get on the platform apparently, and they don't have the link. Oh no, this is the carrier I had spoken to earlier. They were asking what's the average pay per mile. I'll answer that in a second. So now we're in the back office. This is going to be the main area for you guys if you're on this Dispatcher One-on-One, the training page. The dispatching page is for owner-operators, carriers, truck drivers who are interested in having Exodus Logistics, which is my company, provide dispatching services for them. So they'll go to that page and it lists things there. But for people who want training from a very beginning standpoint, it's this training page link. Right here's the first one. I've already logged in from the training page, so I have access to the other 6 links. This first link is enroll. If you want to enroll for the very first time, you click that, and then of course there's videos on every page explaining what the page is about. And then the pricing points, the regular price is $199, and the National Dispatchers Network members discount is $99. And then you click with PayPal or credit or debit, however. But that's before you join. Once you join, now you have these links: carrier searches, load boards, forms and documents, etc., etc. Right? So let's go to the first one. I'm going to give you a kind of a brief tour. Carrier searches, which is what we're going to do, is what you do when you first become an independent dispatcher. You need to find carriers, search for carriers, kind of vet out the good ones for the bad ones in order to determine if you are going to call that person and then, pitch to them the script that you've been given to try to get them under a dispatch agreement. This is the video. It's usually about an hour. You click, hour 11 minutes. So let me pause that. And it's carrier searches training. So I actually, in each sub page, I provide videos for extra trainings inside the back office area, in addition to the live operational training videos as well. And under the carrier searches, I give you my login. If you notice, for the truck search feature on Truckers Path, this is my actual login into this site right here, Truckers Path. If you notice right there, that is the same username and password right here. So you have access to that. And this is just screenshots of what to look for, but I'm actually going to take you through that section there. And then ComFreight I was saying ComFreight is another one as well, but the truck search feature on Truckers Path is the main one that I use. Okay, so that is carrier searches. So let's say you've already found a carrier, you've already got them under an agreement, so now you have to just find a load for them. So obviously next will be load boards. So that's a tour of load boards, and this is in the back office. Again, there's video, load board training. I show you the load boards that I use. The load board that I mainly use myself, that I'm paying for, is Internet Truck Stop. I am still waiting for those who remember when I was saying, I think 2 videos ago. Let me show you Internet Truck Stop in real time. I'm still waiting to hear back from Internet Truck Stop as to whether or not they are going to allow me to use my one login for all the students that are going to be on my platform. I was getting permission from them because I don't want to get to a point where everyone's using my same login and it may kick some people out, or they may say that there's too many people using the same login and they may try to upcharge. So I want to make sure I have all bases covered. But this is Internet Truck Stop, and these are my live loads, my carriers, and I'm looking for loads for right now as we speak. I got a flatbed, there's a hot shot, reefer, van, and van. These are my loads and I'm looking for right now. So Internet Truck Stop under the load boards section is one of the load boards. Of course, I had my username and password right here, but I took it out because I wanted to wait until I hear back from Internet Truck Stop as to whether or not I can allow all my students to use that password, and then I'll put it back in there. And then, of course, we got Truckers Path. It's the same thing because Truckers Path, in addition to having the ability to search for trucks, you can also search loads on Truckers Path too. That's why I put it there, Truckers Path. So if you, instead of clicking log in, I'll just go up to here to truckloads and then truckloads for carriers. You hit that, another screen is going to show up, and then you search online. So now you have a free load board for Truckers Path. So you got the load board here for Truckers Path, and then you have the truck search feature right here. You click the link for Truckers Path. So you got 2 different resources under the same site. Okay, that's why I put Truckers Path's load board feature under the load board sections in my back office. And then I got another one that I use. It's called Nextload, and then I put my username and password for this. So there's 3 load boards that you can use as you're learning the beginning stages of being a dispatcher. So let's stay on that same theme of we already have our carrier under agreement, so we need to look for a load for them. So we're in the load board section. Okay, so next is forms and documents. This section I got, and again, every section has videos that explain what the section is about. Okay, but this section is pretty interesting because I provide documents, the common documents that we will need as dispatchers to book loads on a regular basis. These are the documents that brokers and shippers ask for all the time. There may be more, there may be less, but the common theme, let me skip over the load detail sheet. This is just a cheat sheet. Well, let me talk about it now. The load details cheat sheet is where it's questions that and it's in PDF and Word document format. It's questions that you are going to ask the broker when you are calling about a load for your carrier. So if I'm a carrier, put yourself in a carrier's position, and you're calling your dispatcher and saying, hey, I need a load from A to B. So some of the things, if I'm a carrier, and I'm going to tell my dispatcher so they can find me the load that I really want, is the weight of my truck, how much a load I can handle, what are the pickup times, what are the delivery times, what are the pickup date and times, what are the delivery date and times, what's the commodity. A commodity is what the freight that you're hauling on the truck. That's what the commodity is. What is being hauled, what's being shipped, what's being delivered. Are there any special instructions? These are some of the common questions that as dispatchers, if you're going to be a good dispatcher, every time you call a broker, these are some of the questions that you might want answered. Because there's been cases where, like when I first started out learning, I would be calling, I'll call the carrier and say, okay, I got a load for you. He'll say, okay, check on it. I'll call it back. I'll call the broker. I'll say, okay, we're interested in this load going from A to B. I say, can you give me information about it? He'll give me a little bit of information. I'll call the carrier back. Well, he said this, this, and this. Well, then the carrier said, well, what about this? Or what about that? So why not, as a dispatcher, get all the common questions like written down or understood what they are. So when you call the broker that one time, you get all those questions answered. Then you call your carrier back. Okay, this is what the load. These are the load details. This is the explanation of what the load is. So you can explain that to your carrier. So your carrier can now make a more informed decision as to whether or not he or she can take that load. Hey, Wash. Okay. Yeah. Can you mute yourself? Okay. Okay, so that's the purpose of the cheat sheet. The purpose of the cheat sheet, the load cheat sheet here, is to, as a dispatcher, go over the information of what your carrier needs with the broker. So when you call your carrier back and say, this is what the load is, the carrier says whether or not they can take it or not. Because the carrier has to base, they're under a load now, so they're looking for their next load. So you're finding them a load, and you have to remember the carrier has a certain amount of time, a certain amount of hours that they can drive. So they say, okay, I can drop this current load, I can deadhead or drive empty. That's what deadhead means. You're driving empty to your next load, X amount of miles, within 50 miles, within 100 miles. Pick this up on a certain time. So these are things that you'll pick up. But the cheat sheets help you answer those common questions when you call the broker on a load that you and your carrier have interest in. Next, I give you guys a sample copy of my dispatcher agreement and profile, so you guys can use that as templates as beginning dispatchers. And these are downloadable. Everything is downloadable. And then I give you sample copies of what an MC authority looks like, what a sample certificate of insurance look like, and what a sample W-9 look like. And remember, I was saying some common forms are going to be needed when you book loads with brokers and shippers. These are the three main ones that they ask for. So in addition to getting a dispatcher agreement and profile back, that's fine and good. You have your contract locked in with your carrier. That's cool. But when you call the broker, when you're searching on load boards for loads, and then you call your broker or the broker for that load that represent that load, now the broker's going to say, okay, that load's available. What's your MC number? And then they're going to ask for, okay, you're not set up with us. You know, they're gonna go through their litany of screening the process, and then they're gonna ask you for information. If you meet their criteria, they're gonna ask for additional information so they can process you in their system, so you can book that load and then send you a rate confirmation. So, and then a sample copy of what's called an NOA, which is a notice of assignment. So, and that what the notice of assignment is if your carrier happens to have a factoring company. The factoring company runs the credit check on the actual broker for your carrier. So for those of you who do not know what factoring is it's like a mini bank for your carriers. Say your carrier is just starting out and they don't have enough income to sustain them just starting out because they're new, so they haven't built up their business yet. Factoring companies can kind of help you because they buy the BOLs from you, and then they'll go after the broker for the remainder. They charge a certain percentage for that, like anywhere between 1% and 5%. And there's also different types of factoring, whether it's recourse or non-recourse factoring, and there's a difference between that. I recommend, when I talk to carriers, I recommend non-recourse factoring. The reason being is because if your broker or shipper does not pay you, then the responsibility falls upon the factoring company to go after the broker or shipper by way of legal fees and courts and things like that. But if a carrier chooses recourse factoring as opposed to non-recourse factoring, then the responsibility falls upon the carrier. So now that's added wasted time, money, resources. You got to take days off to go to court, things like that. So I stress to my carriers to select, first of all, read the fine print when you are selecting factoring companies, and look into non-recourse factoring. If there are, I'm going to stop right now. If there are any questions at this point, unmute yourself and introduce who you are and ask the question. Okay. No questions? Had a silent bunch tonight. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's Don Cavill over in Kansas City, and what you're doing is you're bringing a light to the bigger picture at RBDS, and man, as soon as I get the money, I will sign up with you, brother, because I've been in business for 30-some years, different businesses, but I'm new to this particular business. And if you're new, if you don't know this stuff, you can get popped upside the head by these brokers, sending you back forms that aren't filled out. And so your service is very much needed, brother, and I appreciate you. I just wanted to let you know that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put people on to what's called the learning curve. I'm trying to give you guys information to avoid the pitfalls and the mistakes that I've made in being a dispatcher for the past 9 months. There are certain things there were cases where I didn't read the fine print in the carrier packet when I was signing some of my carriers up, and then there were certain things that were overlooked. So, but once you sign that carrier packet, and then once you get that, well, not necessarily carrier packet, but once you get the rate confirmation back, and you sign that without reviewing it and making sure everything matches up, any special instructions, once you get that rate confirmation, it's there you ask the question before you sign it, because once you sign that, you are legally bound. So you have to take that into consideration. So I, in my back office here under forms and documents, I kind of go over certain things. I lift off at the NOA, but yeah, it's very helpful. Some of the commonalities, I try to cover some of the commonalities, and then you guys will pick up on the extra stuff as you deal with different brokers. The main point I like to make with being a dispatcher is dispatching, it's the same. The process is the same. I always like to emphasize this point. Being a dispatcher, the process of being a dispatcher is the same. You find a load, you book the load, you get paid, right? That's high level. The only thing that changes is your carriers and the brokers and shippers that you deal with. But the process, the middle process in between that two, in between your carrier and the broker booking the load, is the same. So now the question becomes, okay, let's get the process down. Let's get the process down from a basic and beginner's point perspective so we can understand it clearly. So when we do get hit with brokers who try to swindle you or try to slick talk you, because I've had brokers who flat out lied to me certain things, but I turned down the loads because I knew what they were trying to do. So in the end, it's not worth it. It's not worth it, brother, for real. So in the end, it's not worth it. It's best because you are a representative of your carrier. So if you give your carrier bad service, then that's how it is. Explain the explain the process of the rate confirmation. Okay, well, let me walk you in the day of the life of Charles. When you, let's say we got a carrier under agreement, right? And you go to the load board and you search a load for that carrier. You find the load. You've already spoken to your carrier about the load. You call the broker. You went over the cheat sheet details, the load details, asking the questions to the brokers. Okay, what are the pickup and delivery dates and times? What's the weight? What's the commodity? How much is it paying? Are there any special instructions? Whether there are there going to be any lumper? Are there any other special instructions? So once you pass that point, then the broker. This is what the broker does. The broker will say, "What's your MC number?" You give them the MC number because you have a dispatch agreement with your carrier, so you're protected under the agreement, right? So you give them the number. They run the number. The broker's going to tell you one of two things. This is pretty common. One of two things. They're going to say, you're not set up with us. We need to send you a carrier packet, or you are set up with us. We're going to need to let us send you the rate confirmation. Or there may be a third thing. They may say, well, you're set up with us, but we need to update maybe your insurance, or we need to update some things before you send you the rate comp. But the two common things they're going to say, either you're not set up with us or you are set up with us. Now, let's go with the first one. If you're not set up with the brokerage, they're going to send you they're going to say, where should I send the carrier packet to? And of course, you give them, as the independent dispatcher, the middle person in between you and your carrier and that broker, you send the carrier packet to your email. So you look over that carrier packet, and within the carrier packet, some of the common things you want to look for is some of the main points are the insurances, any special requirements that the broker is trying to put on the carrier, any special responsibilities that they're trying to throw at the carrier, because I've seen that happen. With insurance, the basic minimal requirements for insurance that I've seen, and correct me if I'm wrong, like I say, I don't know it all, but based off of my experience and what I've seen in the many loads that I've booked, cargo is $100,000 and the minimum, and liability is $1 million. Now, sometimes with cargo, if you are with a brokerage whose shipper, which is their customer, has freight that's worth more than $100,000, then they'll require you to have a $250,000 insurance on your, as far as your cargo. But this is lined up in the carrier packet. And then there are other things in the carrier packet. That's why it's good to read the carrier packet. You don't have to read it all the way through, but look for certain signs, certain points. Insurance, any special instructions, and things like that. So once you fill that out, of course, you'll send that back, and you will attach to the email a copy of your carrier's MC authority, because they want to see the service date of the MC authority is still active. A copy of the W-9, because they want to see their EIN number, their federal ID number for tax purposes, and a copy of the certificate of insurance. Now, with the certificate of insurance, and I explain, and I go over this in the video in this subsection of the page here, but I'm just giving you a high level. With the certificate of insurance, sometimes a broker will ask that their brokerage be made the certificate holder on that certificate of insurance. Don't become alarmed about if they mention that. That's a common theme. I would say 85 to 90% of the brokerages, they'll ask you, we need to be made the certificate holder on the insurance. All you have to do is on your certificate of insurance for your carrier that you got a copy of in your files, you just call the agent or email the agent and say, hey, I'm Charles. Let's use me for an example. Hey, I'm Charles. I'm a dispatcher for this carrier who's your agent, whose policy number is blah, blah, blah. I need a certificate of insurance listing the following as a certificate holder. And then you give the name, street address, city, state, and zip of the brokerage, and then they'll send they'll email you and CC them or fax them a copy of the certificate of insurance listing them as the certificate holder. And that's basically the process. You're going to do that over and over and over again as you book loads. So you're going to come across that over and over and over again until you get it down and you'll be able to explain that. So once you get past that point, once you send all that information in with the carrier packet, the MC authority, the certificate of insurance, and W-9, what the broker is going to do is they're going to say, okay, let us put it in our system. They're going to enter it in their system. Then they're going to run it by their compliance team for approval. Once they approve it, they're going to produce what's called a load confirmation or a rate confirmation sheet. And then they're going to email that to you. Review that. Make sure the rate compares to what the rate was when the load was posted. And then look for any special instructions on the rate confirmation, because sometimes brokers try to be slick. So you have to be mindful of that. This is a good industry to be in, but it's also a dog-eat-dog industry. Everybody's trying to get over on someone for whatever reason. I have no interest in getting over on people. I just try to do honest business, and I try to do customer service oriented business with my carriers. My goal is to have a relationship with my carriers, which is what I'm establishing now. So I try not to treat my carriers as numbers rather than humans. So, and my goal was I have about 30 carriers under agreement, but I only run consistently, and I'm just telling you about me, I only run consistently about 5 to 10, because you can make a pretty decent income about 5 to 10 carriers. And this is what dispatching is all about. I'm gonna give you a scenario and give you an idea of what I mean by that consistency. With running if you run one carrier on Monday with a load that's paying $2,000, it delivers in 2 days. So I can run a carrier Monday to Wednesday, Wednesday to Friday, Friday to the following Monday. So that's 3 loads a week for a carrier, one of my carriers, whether it's line haul or back haul or however. If I average, let's lowball it. If I average $1,000 for each of those loads, so that's $3,000, and let's keep it on the theme of the percentage of the National Dispatchers Network. My percentage is 7%. Their percentage is 10%. I charge 7% for my company, but let's just keep it on the theme of the National Dispatchers Network. 10% of 1,000 is $100, right? So $100 times 3, and this is just one carrier. That's $300 a week for that person. So if you got 3 to 5 or 5, let's say 5 carriers, so that's $1,500 a week. You're maintaining 5 carriers, right? 4 weeks in a month, 12 in a year. And that's not bad for 3 to 5 carriers starting out. So as you grow and you add more carriers, then that number grows as well. So that's how I look at it. But the first thing you have to do is get the process down from a basic perspective. Get the carrier under agreement, form that relationship with the carrier, run them consistently to a point where you guys are comfortable with each other, and then rinse, repeat. Repeat that process with the next person, and then the next person, to a point where you get to a point where you can control 3 to 5 carriers, then you're good. If you get to a point where you can't control, or you start to grow, then it's time to consider scaling and growing and bringing somebody else on board and adding to your business. But with me, I do 3 to 5, maybe up to 10. I can control that and keep everything in order. Any other questions before I move on to the next sub area of the back office? Okay. So these are all the necessary forms and documents that you'll need from a basics perspective. It even shows you what a carrier packet, a sample carrier packet, a sample rate confirmation, and you can look at that for yourself. If you decide to become a member of this platform, the Dispatcher 101 training for beginners, you'll be able to see. As a matter of fact, let me open up one for you. Let me just open it up. Carrier packet. So the carrier packet, again, the purpose of the carrier packet is when you find a load for your carrier, you call the broker, and you're not set up with that brokerage. In other words, you haven't already set up a broker carrier packet. So this is a sample. This top area right here, and then this bottom area is going to be on the last page of the carrier packet. This top area is going to be on the first page of the carrier packet, and then there's other pages in between with a lot of jargon. I just put these two here just to give you an example of what it looks like. This is a typical one where, you know, this agreement, this day, this month, this year between the brokerage and yourself. You're going to list your MC, the MC of your carrier, and sometimes DOT as well, and you will list their address, information like that. And then once you go through the carrier packet, and of course, you know, your carrier will sign their information, print their name, their title, which is owner, address, phone, etc. That's the carrier packet. Once that gets processed in the system, and you guys get, your carrier gets approved through their compliance office, whatever brokerage, they're going to send you a rate confirmation. This is what a rate confirmation looks like, or a sample rate confirmation. And it just has the standard information, the pickup dates and times, the delivery dates and times, the weight. And this is a reefer. This rate confirmation is for a reefer load. If you see right there, the type of trailer is a reefer, 53-foot. Reefers need to be pre-cooled. This one is pre-cooled to 0 degrees. And you'll learn that as you go. It tells you the mileage going. Carrier's information goes here. The rate, and this one was 2,300. Any special instructions? This one says carrier is not responsible for unloading or pallet exchange, which means lumping. Then it has pickup addresses, things like that. But this is a sample copy of the rate confirmation, the actual PO number, just different things on it, what to look for. And this will be in the back office under the forms and documents for you to look at if you decide to join the platform. You know, you can look at a sample copy of a rate com, a sample copy of a carrier packet, as well as other forms here. So, okay. Workflow of dispatching and Dispatcher 101 ebook explained. Workflow of dispatching is a high-level explanation of, and again, there's a video explaining it. It's about an hour or so long, so I go into detail. This is the actual workflow of dispatching, pretty much explained right here. Once you get the email, the signed dispatch agreement, you keep for your records. Let me give you a sample of my records, my carrier agreements. All these folders, I have my stuff backed up to a not a thumb drive, an external hard drive, and in the cloud, just in case my computer crashes. I'll have all these folders. I showed this last week, but I'm showing it now for just for guest purposes, so they can get an idea of how to organize, you know, from a business perspective, being an independent dispatcher, because you're going to have to know, I guess, how to organize your carriers as you get them under agreement. Whether you move for those carriers consistently or not, I still keep folders for them. Each folder is my carriers. As you can see here, there's a lot. There's actually more than 30. And then under each one, let's pick one. Under each carrier's folder, there are subfolders, but before the subfolders, in their folder for the carrier, I have copies of the carrier service agreement, the profile, the MC authority, the NOA form, the MC authority, W-9, certificate of insurance, in this case liability. So these are all the sub copies that I need. So when I book loads, I have those common forms that I can attach to the email and send to the broker. Now these subfolders under a particular carrier's folder are the brokerages that I've done, that I've booked loads with for that carrier. So you see how it's organized? You see the theme? So let's say Coyote, for example. So now under the Coyote brokerage for this carrier, for that brokerage, I got load confirmations for all the loads that we did, and there's plenty of loads I did for that one. So I can move on to another brokerage. Rate confirmations, I've only done like 2 or 3 loads for this particular broker for that carrier. So just giving you an idea of how I organize. And I also got a TMS system, Ascend, but I don't use it as much. It's pretty good. it's a transportation management system, but I find it right now easier keeping it in file folders. It's pretty good. So, any questions at this point? So this is workflow of dispatching. I see a question. Let me see. Somebody typed the question in. Okay, Jeffrey said none. Okay. So now to finish out the tour, because I was giving you guys a tour of the back office. If you become a member, this is what you'll have access to. You'll get the three ebooks for free. You'll get login access, membership access to the back office, and I'm just going over each section of what you get. And we're currently under workflow. The next will be Dispatcher 101 ebook explained, and there's a video for that. There's several videos for this. The intro to dispatching, finding carriers. Once again, there's a video for that to how to find carriers. The dispatch agreement and the load search profile itself. Finding loads for your carriers on the load board itself, and then I list, of course, my table of contents for the ebook itself. So, okay, that is a tour of what you will get in the back office. So now going back to the very beginning of that process of being a dispatcher is the first thing you have to do is find carriers in order to get them under agreement. And then one of the sources that I was saying that we use to do that is the truck search feature on Truckers Pad, which is right here. So let's go back to the very beginning. You can't book a load for anyone if you don't have anyone to book a load for. So the truck search feature on Truckers Pad, once you log in, you click on the truck search. I usually leave all states. The equipment type, I select the 3 common equipment types that move freight the most are the flatbeds, the vans, and the reefers. Reefers are the refrigerated units. For those who don't know, they are dry vans with a refrigeration unit on it to keep the freight that they're hauling, the commodity that they're hauling, cooled to a certain temperature. They're called reefers for short, but they are they're like refrigerated vans. Okay, so these are the 3. And then under the safety rating, I select satisfactory only. So now when you hit search, your result set is going to change right here. The total number is going to change from 306. Now it's 147, and it lists each page in 50 increments of 50. So the first page has 50 on it. The next page has 50, so on and so forth. Okay. So it's 147. So the first one is a van. If you notice the equipment type, the rating is always going to be safety because we selected safety always, so you don't have to worry about this column here. Their name and phone number. They posted just a minute ago. So they posted themselves up here just a minute ago. Okay. Now what I do, in addition to this, because I'm just not going to just call them, I'm going to vet out the carriers because there are some cases where you might think this is a good candidate, but you might run across a problem, and I'll show you what I mean. If you click the drop-down arrow at the end of each one, there's a drop-down arrow. It opens up more detailed information about them. Of course, their safety rating, since it's satisfactory, is going to always be green. We see that there. But what I do is, in addition to just looking at that, let me take you to the FMCSA website, which is the SAFER website, and I'm going to put that in the, so you guys will have a copy of that. I vet out good carriers from bad carriers because this is the first process of being a dispatcher. You have to find the carriers. But you just don't find any carrier. You find carriers who are not part of brokerages because that's double brokering. And you find carriers that I try to find carriers whose service date of their MC authority is 6 months or more. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to show you right now. So when I got the result set of this search criteria, and I went across the first one, I dropped down, I usually copy their, in this case, DOT, which is their Department of Transportation number. Sometimes you might have an MC number here. Sometimes you might have both. Whichever one you do, I copy it, and then I go to the website, and you have DOT, MC, and name. You can look up a carrier's information a little bit more thoroughly so you can kind of make a more informed decision as to whether or not you're going to call this person. It may seem a little time consuming, but it'll pay dividends in the long run, and I'll tell you why. Okay, this was DOT. So DOT here, I paste the value in there, and then I do search. Now the results of this is going to help me determine whether I choose to call this carrier or not. And it's still thinking here. When it comes up, okay, there it is. So now you get a little bit more information, okay? The fields that I look for, like entity type. If entity type says anything other than carrier, I move on to the next selection in this listing here. Because anything other than carrier is going to be a red flag. Like if it said carrier/broker, that means that that carrier is part of a brokerage, and you can't call it, because if you're trying to deal with a carrier with a brokerage, and if you're calling a broker to book a load for that carrier who's part of a brokerage, that's double brokering, and that's a no-no in this industry. So you don't want to go down that slippery slope. So if it says anything other than carrier, like if it said carrier/IEP forwarder, carrier/broker, don't deal with it. That's just my advice to you. You're welcome to do what you want, but in my experience, I recommend just leaving the entity type if it just says carrier. And then, of course, operating status, they are authorized for property. It may have one that says in red, bold letters, not authorized. That's, of course, that's obvious. And if it says not authorized in red, bold letters, then, of course, you move on to the next one, because they're not authorized because their MC has been suspended. Maybe they've had accidents for whatever reason. Something has went wrong for them to be listed as not authorized in red, bold letters by the Federal Motor Carriers Association on this site. The next is going to list, of course, their DOT and their MC number. Power units. A power unit is just the truck, the tractor. This is a power unit. I'll give you an example of one. I looked up one before, and there we go. Let me say this as a favorite. That way, every time I come to a training, this is a power unit. It's just a tractor. This is a tractor. Now, if there was a trailer attached to it, then it would be a tractor trailer. That's what the term comes from, tractor trailer. But by itself, it's a power unit, power only, just a tractor. So, back to the FMC, so power units. So this person, this tells me they're one power unit, one driver. That means he's a one-man outfit. So so far he's a good candidate for calling to try to pitch to get to sign up to an agreement, right? But here, the service date of their MC is September 27, 2018. We are December, so he's, October, November, December. So he's almost 3 months. So his MC authority is just 3 months old. That may be a problem. In a lot of cases, when you call brokers and they look up the MC number, that's one of the first things that they'll look for, to see the age of the MC authority, to see how much experience they have as running under the authority. In some cases, they'll say, well, we can't run you because your MC is less than 6 months old or less than a year old. You may have come up, some people in this training right now may have came across that scenario. And the reason being is because the brokers are contracted with their customers who are the shippers. And one of the requirements could be that the shippers want more experienced drivers because that reduces accidents and things like that. There are exceptions to that where you may come across a broker to say, okay, your MC is less than 90 days, but if you can provide us with 3 loads that you did in the past month successfully, we will consider giving you the load. And what that means is a successful load to them means a load that was delivered on time, no damaged freight, and there were no claims filed against the carrier. So if you can provide them with other brokerages that you've ran loads for within the last, and you usually attach, you can list their name, the contact person, and the phone number of the brokerage that carrier that you have under agreement with, whose MC authority is less than 90 days. You can list name. Go ahead. Wash, you got a question?
No, that's actually, excuse me, it's no question.
Okay, go, no problem. So this area, this FMCSA website is a good way to vet out carriers. I wish I could show you an example. Let's see if we can find one where a carrier doesn't meet the criteria for a good carrier to call to try to get you to set up a dispatcher agreement for. DOT, let me paste, no. And we'll see. It's thinking here. Okay. Now, this one, I wouldn't mess with this one because this is a large trucking company. They have 870 power units. They've been around for a while, but that's too big. I'll try to keep mine between 1 and 5 power units. So that would be a reason that I would not call this one. Now, if you think you are dispatcher Superman, you might want to call them. But chances are, they got a large number of power units. It makes you wonder, why are this person listing themselves on a load board as being available? Well, one of the reasons is this person, he may work under this company. He may be leasing under their authority. He's an owner-operator, but he's just leasing under their authority, and they are allowing him to find his own loads, and he basically is just paying them whatever percentage that they agreed upon that they charged him to use their authority. That could be the case with that one. So, and that's something that you may run across too. You may have owner-operators who are leasing under a company's authority, but they have, the ability to find their own loads. You could do a dispatch agreement with them, but it has to be with them, not with the company. If that company who they're leasing the authority under allows them to find their own loads, then the agreement is going to be between you and them. If they do not allow them to find their own loads, then the agreement is going to be between you and the company. So hopefully you guys understand the difference between that. Let's look at one more and see if I can find somebody that's not. And I think that was MC. Yeah, see, remember I was saying you might list MC or DOT or sometimes both. So, yeah, so I'm glad I looked back. So now instead of listing DOT, I select MC, and then I put the number there and then search. So it's 16, a little bit smaller. You might be able to work with them a little bit. So also, let me mention, before I move on a little bit, was there anyone in the call center that I did not do a mock carrier dispatcher call with? I'm trying to think. Was it Mark? Mark, unmute yourself. Yeah, Gabriel, you and Alvin are done. I understand. Mark, can you unmute yourself? I know Jamie did hers. She did an excellent job. Alvin, there's somebody's missing. Jeffrey, either Jeffrey or Mark. I know someone's trying to miss out. For those who are just tuning in as guests, we did a like a simulation mock call to kind of like get an idea of what it is to when you call a carrier to pitch the dispatch agreement with, and from there.
Hello, Charles.
Okay, who's this?
This is Mark.
Mark.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're the last one, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's, for the sake of the guest, let's give them an idea of, because starting off as a dispatcher, the first thing that we need to do, of course, is get a carrier under agreement. So prior to that, we have to run the script by them to convince the carrier that our service will be for them. Okay, actually, there's also Sarah. I didn't know Sarah was in this platform. I wasn't aware.
Sarah's been invited as a guest until she's officially. You said it's okay to invite her as a guest. Remember? Certainly.
Okay. Well, so is Sarah familiar with the script, Wash?
Yes, she is familiar with the script now. I believe she's familiar enough to answer a call too, right, Sarah?
Sarah, unmute yourself. I tell you what. After Mark, we'll go to Sarah. So, Mark, are you still unmuted?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So for the other guests who are considering joining the dispatcher, hey Sarah, for the other guests who are considering joining the dispatcher 101 training for beginners, of course the first step is, as a dispatcher, you want to get a carrier under agreement. One of the ways to do that is cold calling and running the script. There are other ways to do it, but this is a common way. And one of the resources that we use is the truck search feature on Truckers Path, which is what we went over here. I go an extra step in my process by vetting out, even though I find carriers here, I still vet out my carriers a little bit further before I call them, just to make sure that they're not part of brokerages, because I don't want to waste my time. That's double brokering. So I don't want to put myself and my carrier in a precarious situation. So once we do that, let's say for the sake of argument, Mark, that we've done that, I'm the carrier, you've already done this process of vetting out, and you've decided, okay, I'm a good candidate to call. So are you ready to call me and pitch your script?
Sure.
Okay, you ready? Okay. Ring, ring, ring. Hello? How can I help you?
Yeah, hello, how are you today?
I'm okay. What do you want? What do you want?
Yep, my name is Jake, and I'm from National Hip Bank Dispatching. I am an independent dispatcher working with a network of over 1,400 dispatchers all over the country. Having said that, I have one question for you. How much money do you need in order to move your truck?
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't understand the question. How much money I need? What are you talking about?
Yep, I would like to know what is your CPM or cents per mile that you need in order to cover all your expenses when you run a load.
Oh, okay. All my expenses. I would say, because I got insurance, I got upkeep in my truck, you got fuel charges. I would say about $2.75 a mile.
Oh, my rate is 10%, but that 10% will be added on top of your $2.75.
Oh, wait a minute, hold up, 10%. Say it again. It's gonna be added. I gotta pay you 10% extra. You saying you going in my pocket like that?
No, sir. My 10% will be added on top of your $2.75.
Oh, okay. So I don't understand. Can you give me an example of that?
Sure. Hold on. Let me just compute it for you, sir.
I got you, Jamie. We may not have enough time. I see your private question. Hello, sir. What happened to you, sir?
I'm sorry, I'm just completing it for you, sir. Hold on.
Well, let me help you out there, Mark. Let me give you an example. So if I got a load that's 2,000,
Right.
like if you find a load that paid me $2,000, how does that work? And it's not to put you in a hot seat or anything, but I'm glad that you kind of stuck here because it helps everybody else to understand it too.
Yeah,
Let me
sure.
stop here. What that means is when it's 10% added on top, if you got a load that's paying, if I found you a load that pays $2,000, I'm going to ask, if 10% of 2,000 is 200, so I'm going to ask for what? 22 or better, because now I covered my 10% and you still keep your 2,000, right? So when you're talking to carriers, you want to give them a simple example where you can easily and quickly explain that concept, right? So that's the only critique that I would give you, because if I'm a carrier, like a real carrier, and you put me on pause for that amount of time, I probably would have hung up by now. So that's the one advice that I would give you, is to make sure that and you can use that example, that $2,000 example, because it's a nice round number, even $1,000. Like if I found you a load that paid $3,000, 10% of anything is easy to compute, right? So 10% of 3,000 is 300, 10% of 2,000 is 200, 10% of 1,000 is 100, and then you add that result back to the original principle. So 3,000 at 300 is 3,300. So I'm finding a load that pays you $3,000. I'm going to the broker and negotiating 3,300 because I want to cover my 10% and still you get paid. So a carrier is going to say, oh, okay, so I'm not losing any money. You're not taking any money out of my pocket, and you pull the money from the broker. This is the rationale well, not even the rationale, the logic that we can use to convince carriers. And then, of course, you want to talk in the language that they understand, because these are carriers. They talk just regular language. You're not talking to board members. You're not talking to elementary school kids. You're talking to carriers, so you want to, but as you begin as a dispatcher, you'll pick up on that lingo as you go along. But starting out, it's fine. You grow. You got to crawl before you walk. So just keep that in mind. You got to crawl before you walk. So anybody else want to critique Mark a little bit? What advice can we give? Because the purpose of this platform, this beginner's dispatcher one-on-one training, is to help one another. So, because someone else may have heard what Mark just said and may be having the same, I don't want to say issues, but same pain points, being able to properly explain to a carrier what they mean, because a carrier is going to say, the moment a carrier hears 10% or whatever your percentage is, they're going to say, whoa, wait a minute, I'm already paying my the company that I'm leasing under the authority to, I'm giving them 12%. Then I got insurance, I got fuel, I got upkeep of the vehicle. Then I got to give you 10%. So now he's getting, you see the temperature is going up based off of the level of conversation and what he's saying. So you got to bring that down. You have to tone that back down and convince him, like, wait a minute, I'm not taking the 10% from you. Let me give you an example. Now you got to dissipate that mood, so to speak, and then you commence to explaining, okay, the 10% is not coming from you, and I'm going to get it from the broker. And then here's an example. You give the example. You convince them that, okay, yeah, okay, now I understand. I can still make my $2.50 or $3 a mile, cover my expenses, and still have enough income to live off of after I cover my expenses, costs of doing business as an owner-operator. Because, as an owner-operator, there are costs of doing business. Fuel is crazy. Insurance is ridiculous. And if you are leasing under someone's authority, if you haven't gotten your own authority, those numbers can be crazy. I've seen as high as 25%. I don't know who in their right mind as a carrier would give somebody 25% of their company or their profits just to lease under authority. Why not just pay that extra money, get the authority, and you keep that 25%? But you don't go that much in detail with them, but you still, as a dispatcher, you understand why that is. But again, that comes in time. The main thing is just convincing the carrier that your service is going to help them meet their requirement. What is their requirement? Their requirement is, in order to make it after their expenses, they need $2.50 to $3 a mile or whatever cents per mile or CPM that they gave you as an example, right? So then you just take that information, because the key to being a good dispatcher is communication and, number one, listening. If you don't get anything else from this training or any other trainings going forward, listen, 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 and listen. And then, of course, communication, because as you listening is one of the better forms of communication. Communication, some people think communication is both ways, going back and forth. Sometimes listening is a good form of communication, because you're taking in information and you're processing it, and then you're returning what was given to you in a way that whoever gave it to you, now they're satisfied. Because they realize that you understood what they told you because you listened to what they said. So, are you okay, Mark?
Yes, sir, of course.
Are you okay, Mark?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, Sarah? Sarah, won't you smile for me, Sarah? Where's Sarah? Is she still? I see her up here. Sarah, unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, how you doing, Sarah?
I'm good.
Are you?
You?
I'm okay. I'm just here to help everybody. I'm trying to pour my experience into the platform. That's my whole goal, is to pour my experience from a very basic beginner's perspective and put you guys onto the learning curve. So when you see things come up, you'll say, okay, yeah, Charles mentioned that in the platform. So I need to take a left instead of a right, because he already showed us what to expect. So I've already bumped my head enough times where I can tell you guys, okay, you might want to avoid that, or you might want to avoid that, or you might want to avoid that. So isn't it good to be on a part of a whole network overall, whether it's the National Dispatchers Network or even this one from a very beginner's perspective, where you have people who have had those growing pains. Now they share those growing pains with you, so you don't have to have those growing pains, right? But Sarah, are you still with me, Sarah? I want to see if you want to do a dispatcher carrier call.
Hello.
Can you hear me? I can hear you now.
Yes. I hear you.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah. Let's begin.
Okay. Say again?
Yeah, let's begin.
Okay. Ring, ring, ring. Hello, how can I help you?
Hi, Charles, how are you today?
I'm okay. What can I do for you?
By the way, my name is Sarah, and I'm independent dispatcher with National HIP Bank Dispatching, and I wanted to ask you one question. How much money do you need to move your truck?
I'm not sure I understand the question. What do you mean? Can you explain, please?
I would like to know your cents per mile that you need in order to cover all your expenses when you run a load.
Oh, okay, I understand now. I got a flatbed, and I usually run about $2.75 to $3 a mile.
Oh, sounds good.
Yep, that's what I need. So how can you help me? $3 a mile. So how can you help me? I think I lost Sarah there. We may have some feedback issues between me and Sarah.
Hello, hello.
Okay, you back. Okay, I lost you there for a second.
You hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you now clearly.
Okay.
We left off at $3 a mile. So how can you help me?
Yeah, my rate is 10%, but that 10% will be added on top of your $3 per mile.
So 10%, that's kind of high. Are you? Do I got to pay you 10% or what? What do you? Give me an example.
No, sir. This will be added on top of your $3.
Okay. So can you give me an example of that or? I think we lost her again.
Hello, sir.
Okay.
Your $3 will be $3.03.
Okay. You sure it's $3.03? I want you to redo the math. I think we got a bad signal with Sarah.
No, sir. It's $3.30.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So sorry.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. Okay, yeah, that's good. Then you going to the broker getting the money from that side. Okay, good. Okay, Sarah. Okay, Sarah, you were a little nervous, which is cool for the first time. That's another thing too with cold calling. As a independent freight dispatcher, make as many mistakes as you need to make, because even in the mistakes, you're going to learn from that experience. So make those mistakes, because the next call you make, you'll remember the mistake you made in the previous call. Then you'll be able to, tweak that and then move on. And you might make a mistake in that call, but then with the next call, you'll do the same process that you did with the previous call, to the point where you've gotten it down and you've perfected the art of cold calling. So the mistakes are not a bad thing. Mistakes are lessons learned, in order to move forward. So Gabriel asked a question in terms of cold calling where the person doesn't know you at all. You have to keep the tempo high, keeping the person silent on the phone for too long, and you'll see the call fading fast. Improvise and keep the caller on their feet and keep them interested in the call. There you go. Exactly. Avoid dead air. I'm reading a small book. It's by Herb Cohen. Matter of fact, I'm going to put this in the, it's called You Can Negotiate Anything. It's by Herb Cohen. It's a very small book, but it's an effective book. I recommend you guys get it. You can go to your local library or you can order it for yourself. You Can Negotiate Anything, it's called. It's nice bedside reading for you. But this is the first stage. Once you get past this stage of cold calling, or not only cold calling, this is just one aspect of getting a carrier under an agreement, which is cold calling. Like I said earlier before in the training, there are other aspects. You can go to truck stops, put flyers up, have a website, social media presence, word of mouth. You might have friends who are carriers. You never know, they may need a dispatcher. But the most common and the often used form of getting carriers under agreement is the cold calling. And one of the resources that's used in that process that I use and that the National Dispatchers Network uses is the truck search feature on Truckers Path. In this platform, Dispatcher 101 training for beginners, I kind of go over the truck search feature of Truckers Path to vet out Yeah, because even whatever feature you use to find a result of a carrier that you think you're going to call to set up an agreement, make sure you vet that person out through other resources to make sure that they are the right carrier for you to call, because you can call wrong carriers. You can call carriers who may not run, who may leave loads, leave you stranded, things like that. You don't want to put yourself in that position, because now you, not only does the carrier create a bad reputation for themselves, but now you're kind of putting yourself in that area as well. So that's another reason why I personally do my vetting process, where I get the results set on Truckers Path, but then I look them up additionally just to make sure that they meet my pre-qualifiers, my precursors, before I call them and decide that, you know, this is a good person, a good candidate. And what I look for is, of course, the entity type, whether they're a carrier, their operating status, whether they're authorized to move freight, and then the number of power units. Remember what a power unit is, just a regular tractor, right? And then their service date, how young is it, how old is it 6 months or less, is it between 6 months and a year? Because you have to think in terms of downstream with the broker. You have to consider the broker when you're looking for carriers too, because when you call brokers, again, they're going to run that MC number, and if their shipper's requirements is that this carrier has to have an MC that's more than 6 months old or more than a year old, then you don't want to put yourself in a situation that you get a carrier under agreement, but you can't find a load for them because their MC authority is too young. Again, there are circumstances where some brokers may overlook that, but that's rare. So I would look for, when I'm vetting them out, just to make sure that their MC is old enough, you know, like 6 months to a year, then you shouldn't have a problem. So, but that's stage one of the process of being an independent freight dispatcher, is you first have to get the carrier under agreement. Let's look at the dispatcher agreement itself. Let's go over that just a little bit, because I keep mentioning getting them under agreement. But what is an agreement? What is a profile, right? So let's review that while we have a little time. Let's go into that a little bit detail. This is my dispatch agreement. Of course, I got my logo up here, my company, my information, and in the back office of my back office, under the forms and documents section, this is the dispatch agreement that you guys can use as a template and just put your information in if you decide to do that. You know, I'm the dispatcher, my phone number, my email, one of my emails, info@Exodus Dispatching and Training, my website. If you got a website, you know, you put that there, and then dispatcher agreement, and then this is what makes you legal. This first paragraph, so on and so forth, first few paragraphs, and then whoever the carrier is, the carrier, you know, I put it in parentheses, they put their name in that blank. The owner operator of truck number, whatever their truck number is, trailer number, whatever their trailer number is, MC number, whatever their MC number is, and DOT number, whatever their DOT number is. Hereby grants authorization / permission to, and then I put my name in yellow highlighted so you know what goes there. Me, to act as my agent for the sole purpose of searching for and booking loads, processing all brokerage paperwork, and submitting all documents required in order to expedite loads and dispatch. And then whether that's via phone, fax, or email for my truck, which is license plate number in the state of whatever state, Georgia, Alabama, whatever. So processing all brokerage, let's go over that. Processing all brokerage paperwork and submitting necessary documents in order to expedite loads and dispatch. What does that mean? Brokerage paperwork is what? The brokerage paperwork is the, let's go back to the forms and documents. Brokerage paperwork is carrier packets, rate confirmations, and to some degree, the brokerage paperwork is the MC authority, certificate of insurance, and W-9. It's the common forms that the brokers are going to need from you, since you are the agent of your carrier, to send to them so they can enter it into their TMS system or whatever software that they're using to process in order to send to their compliance department to approve or disapprove your carrier for that load or any other loads in the future. So your carrier is giving you permission to do that for them, processing all that stuff. You are handling that. I do that for my carriers. In the National Dispatchers Network, you are instructed to let your carrier do the carrier packets, send in the I guess the rate confirmations, W-9, MC authority, and then do the rate confirmations as well. And when I was a part of that platform, the National Dispatchers Network, I did the same thing. When I formed my own company, what I do now, I get my carriers implied consent or permission via paperwork, text, or voice. And they'll say, well, because you're going to have situations where your carrier will say, man, I'm too busy. I'm driving right now. I can't fill out anything because they're so busy. Part of your service as a independent freight dispatcher is you're providing a service. So what better way to provide that service for your carriers than to make their transition from one load to the next load, to the next load, to the next load as smooth as possible. If I'm a carrier, I shouldn't have to stop at every truck stop hoping that a printer works so I can print out a carrier packet or a dispatch agreement, worrying about whether it gets approved and gets signed and everything. I need a dispatcher who makes that transition very smooth. That's our purpose, in my opinion. That's the purpose of a dispatcher, making the transition smooth between loads for your carrier. Of course, you have your carrier's consent to do that. You know, you want to cover yourself when you do that. But that's the ultimate goal, I believe. Make the transition smooth. So all the carrier has to do is call you and say, hey, Charles, you got something for me? I'm about to drop off here. You got another load for me? And I'll say, yeah, I got two other loads. I got not only this load, I got your next load. What carrier in his right mind would be like, oh, yeah, I'm going there? Because it's easier when your carrier sends you an agreement back and he sends you the profile back telling you how he wants to run and where he wants to run. So you have a blueprint of how to look for loads for your carrier. So why not do that? Do that. So the next line, paragraph, all billing, invoicing, and collections of revenue from customers, brokers, shippers, consignees, etc. are the sole responsibility of the carrier. In other words, the carrier they handle sending the invoices, the BOLs, and all that stuff to the brokers, shippers, or whoever they contract with, so they can get paid. That's fine. There are some dispatchers who, as an added service, and they'll add that to their percentage of what they charge, they'll handle the BOLs and stuff like that. I don't do that personally. I haven't even considered it at this point to do that. I'll just leave well enough alone at this point because carriers now, they have factoring companies, so they just send the BOLs to the factory companies, and the factory companies purchases the BOLs and pays them up front minus their percentage, and then they go out to the brokers and shippers for the remainders of the monies that due. So, I mean, who am I to get involved in that process, right? Next, if revenue for a shipment or shipments is uncollectible, you, will be held harmless and no penalty or deductions will be made. That removes you from the responsibility. In other words, if a broker or shipper does not pay the carrier, you're not involved in that. You won't be held liable. The carrier agrees to maintain all proper licenses and permits to conduct business as a motor carrier in the area of intended operation. What that means is they're going to keep their insurance up to date, the MC authority up to date, things like that for their home state and things like that. So that's all that means. And its next line covers that too. Additionally, carrier agrees to maintain general liability. The two common insurances are general liability and cargo in the amount set forth by the home state of the carrier. Again, from what I've seen, general liability is usually $1 million, and cargo insurance is usually $100,000. Sometimes carriers haul for brokerages or shippers whose cargo may be whose cargo insurance requirement may be more, like $250,000. So they'll have to call their insurance agent and then up the rate. So just to get that load. So it's like you ask yourself as a carrier, I mean, is it economically feasible, or does it make economic sense for you to up your premiums and up your amount of cargo insurance just to get one load when your other loads just require $100,000? So that's something the carrier would have to consider on their own. Me personally, I wouldn't do it. I would just skip that one and move on to the next one. Then it says, you as a dispatcher, me, will be held harmless in the event of any claims, any and all claims. So in other words, if the carrier damages freight, if there's any accidents, you as the dispatcher, it's not your fault, obviously, so you won't be held liable in that. No claims will be filed against you. It'll only be filed against the carrier. So this is a pretty straightforward agreement. Then, of course, you got, like me, I got my, this is my fee, 7% on my, for my company. Those who are in the National Dispatchers Network, the fee is 10%. So as loads are picked up and delivered and the carrier is paid first, an amount equal to the above percentage or pricing scheme will be payable to, whoever you are, the dispatcher. And then my payments is through my PayPal account or Square. I got PayPal here, but I use Square also, and that's my PayPal email address. And then the carrier's just going to put, just finish out the form. They'll put their cell number, email address, things like that. They'll sign their company name, their signature, print, and date. And it's pretty cut and dry, two-page dispatcher agreement. And that's what makes it legal. And then next, the profile. Of course, I got my profile, and this profile is also in the under the forms and documents area in the training page of the website. In the back office, once you become a member, you have access to that. This is my profile template. I call it carrier preference. Carrier lists in their name, their home city, state. Then these are the questions that I ask. You can tweak this how you like. I ask them, do they go in the mountains? Yes or no. What is their equipment type? They'll list it, whether it's a flatbed, reefer, dry van, and whether it's 48 or 53 foot. Remember the 3 common equipment types that are used to move the freight the most. I mean, straight box trucks and hot shots move freight, but not as frequently and not as profitable as flatbeds, reefers, and dry vans. Remember, a reefer is just a refrigerated dry van. That's all it is. And it's a dry van with a refrigerated unit on the front portion of the trailer, and it keeps the commodity or the freight pre-cooled at whatever temperature for that particular load. Okay? Do you do long haul? Yes or no? And if so, what state? So these are questions that you ask the carrier when you send them the dispatch agreement and they send the profile back. So that way you can cater your load search according to this preference, to this profile. So again, you can tweak yours how you see fit. This is just mine as a sample, as a template for you guys to follow. Do you do long hauls? Do you do short hauls? Do you do heavy loads? What is your maximum capacity that you can handle on your trailer? Like, there's different weight capacities for different equipment types. You know, some can handle 48,000 pounds, some can handle 45,000 pounds. So that's the question you ask there. They'll put it there. Days you want off, how much money you need to move your truck, things like that. Matter of fact, let me give you, I just got back a dispatch agreement from a hotshot carrier. Let me show you of one that's filled out, so you can actually see in real time what it looks like. So on the left side of the screen, because I didn't even process this yet. It's a hotshot carrier. What I mean by processing, I'll download the dispatch agreement and profile, and I'll put it into a file folder under my signed carriers. I'll create a file folder for them, and then subfolders for the brokerage that I get loads for this new carrier. I haven't done that yet. I haven't even processed it. I just got it today. But this is a dispatch agreement from a hotshot guy. This is who he is. He filled it out. Information. Page 2. He filled it out, as you can see, who he is. And then the profile. And you can tell he scanned it. He had a cam scanner. So this is his company, where he's based out of, and those questions that I asked, he's answered the questions. So this is what it will look like when you get yours back from your potential carrier. Albeit that he's a hotshot, I consider him, because he's a hotshot that has a lot of weight that he can handle. He has close to 20,000 pounds, so I can find something for him, and he wants $2.10 a mile, and that's short haul. For the long haul, he says he'll take between $1.50 and $2 a mile. So, and he has a special comments. Please check with me before booking any load. And then I sent him another email saying that I need, prior to booking loads, I also need, right here. See, he sent me that in PDF form. I replied to him. I said, thank you. In addition to these documents, I will need copies of your MC Authority, W-9, and certificate of insurance, as these are common documents required by brokers and/or shippers to successfully book loads. Thank you. You see what I did there? I'm getting those other documents up front, putting them in my folder, so when I start booking loads for this person, I won't have to keep calling him asking him for those same documents, because I already have them in my file. So I don't have to, waste his time, because he could be driving, he could be doing anything. So what he did, I think he started to send them to me. I think I got 2 more emails from him. So he's sending me his factoring agreement, his notice of assignment. This is his notice of assignment. So I'm showing you in real time. This is today. This is from a carrier today. He sent, look, W-9. This is his W-9, the same person, Bama Expedited, MC Authority, you see? So, and certificate of insurance, look at that. So once you ask for it, they'll send it to you. And remember, on the certificate of insurance, this is the area where it says certificate holder, where the insurance agent lists the broker. When the brokerage asks for it to be listed as a certificate holder, this is where it goes. Just FYI. But by me sending him that email up front, he's already sent me these documents. Look at that. And that's what you want. You want effective communication. Get this stuff up front, so when you start booking loads, all you got to do now is go to your folder that you created, or however you itemized your carriers in whatever location on your computer, and attach these documents to the email you're going to send back to the broker along with the carrier packet, so they can process and book that load for them. And that's how it's done. That's how I do it. So certificate of insurance. So see, and he even gave me the insurance. This is the insurance agent. I got the insurance agent's information. So if every carrier follow this example. Like if you get a carrier to send you back a dispatch agreement and profile, and then you immediately turn around and say, hey, I need these other documents, because you as a dispatcher, you know that these documents are needed. You know, because you know when you call every broker, they're going to ask for the common documents in order to process a particular carrier in order to book loads for them. They're going to need the MC authority, they're going to need a W-9, and they're going to need a certificate of insurance, sometimes listing the broker themselves as the certificate holders, sometimes not. But put these documents in a subfolder under the folder for your carrier. And that's what I'm going to do. Once I'm done with this training in about 10 minutes, I'm going to download these documents, create a folder in my other folders, under my Exodus Logistics folder, under the signed carrier agreements folder. I'm going to create another folder for the name of that carrier who just sent me that his dispatch agreement and profile and those other documents. Put that in there. Now I can focus on going to find loads for that person. So, any questions? No questions after all that? But the key to this platform, the Dispatcher 101 training for beginners, I'm going to rehash this over and over again until, everybody's going to get this process down, because this is the process. This is important because it's common. This is something that everybody needs. Okay, I got you, Jamie. We may have to do that more around wanting to see more of the load booking part. Okay. Next week's training, because I have training every Tuesday night from 6 to 8 p.m. for what Jamie is asking about seeing the loads booking. I'm assuming because it's 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here, some of my carriers, I may not get to them, but as far as load bookings, Jamie, can you unmute yourself for a second, please?
Yep, hello.
Okay. Are you saying as far as navigating the load boards or doing scenarios where I'm a carrier, I need a load going from here to here, and then we go to the load boards, and then I show you guys how to properly navigate and find those loads, something like that along those lines?
Yeah, something along those lines, for the benefit of those who are already doing the cold calling and trying to get loads for their carrier. So looking for the loads, matching it up.
We got 8 minutes right now. Give me a scenario. You have a carrier that you have under agreement right now, and then you have a pickup and delivery place that you need to find a load for. I could do one right now for you.
Okay. Yeah, well,
because I'm on an internet truck stop, but you guys don't have access to internet truck stop, so I may do it under Truckers Path where you do have access to. That way you can follow easy, because you know what, that makes more sense. You already have access to Truckers Path, so I'm going to log out of Truckers Path truck search feature, and I'm going to open up Truckers Path load board feature, right? So we go to
yep. So pretty much we're wanting to see how your usual workflow is from that point onwards. So looking for a load, matching up the right load for that carrier according to his preferences, booking that load with the steps that you have to take from that point moving forward. Like you have to call the broker, or you have to call the shipper. Get whatever information.
So next week, what we'll do is, as a precursor to next week, that's what we'll do, and I'll assign you the responsibility of providing me a scenario. You give me the carrier, you tell me his equipment type, you tell me where they need to go, you tell me their cents per mile, and I'll do it in both. Over the course of 2 hours, I'll do it in both Truckers Path and Internet Truck Stop, because I believe that Internet Truck Stop is going to give us the ability to access it with more than one person using the same login. So I will show you guys Internet Truck Stop and Truckers Path. I got 1, 2, 3 load board. I got DAT Truckers Edge. This is DAT Truckers Edge right here. I got
Yeah, but
access.
truck stop is a lot better, or it looks a lot nicer.
Yeah, truck stop looks a lot nicer. This is that Trucker's Edge. I got that. I got 1, 2, 3 low board. I mean, so, I mean, we got so many low boards. It's like what? 1, 2, 3 low board. So, I got that power, which is a broker level. So. See, and this is a broker level low board, but I can't use that because I need permission from my broker people to do that. This is 1, 2, 3 low board. This is a nice one. It's not the broker level low board. It's just a carrier level. We'll be using a carrier level low board for most truckers. This is that. That power is the broker level, that low board. That Trucker's Edge is the carrier level low board. Okay? You understand the difference? You still with me, Jamie?
Yep, just muted there for a moment. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that power is the broker level low board, and I was saying that Trucker's Edge is the carrier level low board. And I was asking you if you understood the difference
Between the carrier and the broker?
Well, the low board level, that power low board, a broker level low board gives you the ability to, I'm going to give you guys this because you may or may not be able to use it, but it's still good to know. A broker level low board gives you the ability to post trucks, search trucks, post loads, and search loads. That's a whole bunch of power.
Okay.
A carrier level load board only gives you the ability to post your truck and search loads because that's all you need to do as a carrier. You don't need to post other trucks because you're not a broker. You're just a carrier. So as a carrier level login, you only want to have the ability to post your truck and to search for loads for your truck. That's all you need a carrier level login for, right? It just makes sense, right?
Right.
So as a broker level login, you need everything because you're a broker. You're contracted with the shipper, so you need to be able to search trucks, post trucks, search loads, post loads. So that's why all those features are available for a broker level login. But we are just dealing with carrier level logins because we are independent dispatchers, so we only find loads for our carriers, right? So now, so if you got a scenario, I will show you, how to navigate through Internet Truck Stop. Internet Truck Stop is very user friendly. This is my internet. I'm paying for this, so this is my Internet Truck. But it's only, I'm not making a big deal. It's only $35 a month, so it's not a problem. But I'm just saying. My concern is because I didn't want to because I book all my loads that I've been booking. I book through Internet Truck Stop, period. So that's why I'm apprehensive. I want to make sure before I give it to you guys that we're doing it right. In other words, my one login can be shared by more than one person. Because if I mess this up, then I got to go through the whole process of redoing everything, and so that's why I'm careful with this one. And I don't mind sharing it with you at all. That's not what I'm saying. I just want to be careful that it's done the right way. And even if I can't share it with you guys on this level, I'll still help you guys find loads myself using Internet Truck Stop, and I'll just paste those loads to you, and then you guys call the brokers from there. So there's a workaround for that. Even if we can't share the login, I'll still share the load without sharing the login with you. You understand what I'm saying? So, but next week we can focus on a scenario. Jamie, I'll leave you with that responsibility of giving me a scenario. Huh?
We'll come up with a scenario there.
Yeah, you can give me more than one. We can do it more. I tell you what, since the three main equipment types that we use to book freight from is our dry vans, flatbeds, and reefers. You pick one, and then you choose the other two from call center members to find the other two scenarios, whether it's a dry van, flatbed, or reefer. And then next week, you guys give me those scenarios. Then I will find loads from each one and then show you how to navigate. Because no matter what load board we use, there are some commonalities that's used on the load boards. You know, as far as navigating, knowing what to navigate for, there are some common things to look for in the load board, and I'm going to show you guys that. So when you begin to start looking for loads for your carriers, you'll have an understanding of what that is. So this is assuming that we've gotten past the point of signing our carriers up to a dispatcher agreement. Now we're ready to find loads for them, right? So, okay, so can you handle that? You can handle that, Jamie. You're Superwoman.
Well, we want to prepare the perfect scenarios there so that the customer can get the most of the end-to-end process, because we want to be able to eliminate, a few steps here and there to make sure that we're running as efficiently as possible, for our day-to-day workflows.
Right. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Have you guys gotten any carriers yet under agreement?
Yeah, we have some carrier contracts going on now.
Okay. So we can do that, and we can do it in real time, and we can use it as a training tool next week for guests and those who are interested in looking for so. And seeing the process and showing it from a very basic perspective. That way, a lot of questions. So not only are we doing a service for you guys, but we may be doing a service for some people who are looking in and wondering about dispatching and how it's done from a very basic perspective. So that's good, and that's cool. And that's how we learn and grow together. That's the whole point. So next week, we'll focus on that. That'll be the precursor for that. Flatbeds, reefer, dry van. Give me a scenario for each one of your real carriers, and then we'll go from there. I'll start with the load board from Truckers Pad, because you guys have access to that in the back office and this training platform.
Yeah,
and then
that's usually is.
And then I'll show you guys Internet Truck Stop. So now it's getting serious, right? So, which is cool. That's fine. That's the whole point. I mean, you can't be a dispatcher if you don't know how to find loads, right? So let's get started. Are there any other questions from anyone? Any guests? Before I do my closing soliloquy. Cause it's
Hey, thanks, Charles. This is Don from Kansas City.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for allowing me to be a guest tonight, man. It's been an awesome program. I appreciate your help.
Oh, anytime, brother, anytime. And if you have any questions, whether you join this platform or not, if you have any questions, go to the contact page of the website and then type the question in. My phone number is there. I'm available anytime. It doesn't matter whether you pay for the platform or not. The whole goal is to help. We're all in this together. So, all right.
Well, praise the Lord. Appreciate it. Have a good evening.
You too. All right. Would that be any other questions or comments? Okay. With that being said, we're gonna draw this to a close. Again, if you are a guest that joined us tonight, I'd like to thank you guys for showing up, and I appreciate your joining us to see Dispatcher 101 training for beginners. You're welcome, Wash. Thanks, everybody. If you are interested in joining this platform or the National Dispatchers Network's platform, but this platform, which is what I'm training for. Thanks, everybody. I see everybody saying thank you. I appreciate it. if you are interested in being a part of this platform and you are on the National Dispatchers Network, the pricing point is $99. If you are not on the National Dispatchers Network, the pricing point is $199. That is a one-time payment. What you get is 3 ebooks for free, which is a $95 value. You also get access, membership to the back office where you get all the resources and tools. You also get the ability to join us in live online operational training every Tuesday night from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we go over the process over and over again of finding carriers, getting them under agreement, finding loads, how that's done, booking the loads, the process, what's all involved in that, and into getting paid, invoicing, things like that. So you can go to www.Exodus Dispatching and Training, click on the training page, click the Enroll in Trainer and Dispatch 101 Training, and go from there. If you are a owner-operator and you have a need for dispatching services, you go to the same website, www.exodusdispatchingandtraining.com. You will click on Dispatching page and go from there. You can look at the videos there and scroll down, read over the welcome packet, which is a PowerPoint, tells about the company, who we are, what we do, and then there is a dispatch agreement and carrier profile that you can fill out and return to us, and go from there. And that's it. So either dispatching page for owner-operators who need dispatching services, or if you are interested in wanting to be a independent freight dispatcher, work from home, be your own boss, work in a recession-proof industry, set your own schedule, have the freedom and time for yourself as an independent freight dispatcher, then you can enroll in our platform, Dispatcher One-on-One Training for beginners, and you have access to all the videos, tools, and resources, things explained to you, free ebooks, access to the online training. So with that, I bid you guys a fond farewell until next week. Looking forward to you guys joining in on the training next week. And I hope the guests were able to understand everything. Hopefully, if you have any questions, again, on the website, on the Contact Us page, you click that. Again, let me re-emphasize that. And you put your information in here. My phone number is listed. If I don't answer, leave a voicemail, please. I do respond back pretty quickly. Or just type your information in and then hit send, and I reply there as well. Also, my email, info@exodusdispatchingandtraining.com or Exodus Logistics LLC at yahoo.com. All right? You guys have a good evening. Until next week, I'll see you guys. Happy dispatching. Thank you.